$47,000. That was the market value of your father's entire year. You sat in the dim light of the kitchen, processing the paperwork of his labor, realizing his life's work was a rounding error in the world you now inhabit.
The math was a gut punch. You'd eclipsed his annual ceiling in less than 8 months. You stayed quiet while the TV hummed in the next room, holding the secret of your success like a heavy stone. This isn't wealth, it's a structural divorce.
You were born into the lower half of a rigged game, a demographic that controls a microscopic 2.6% of the national wealth. You didn't need the Federal Reserve to explain the disparity. You felt it in the fluorescent aisles of the grocery store.
You learned algebra at the register, watching your mother pause as the total climbed. You became the guardian of her dignity, quietly returning items to the shelf before the embarrassment could land. At 8, you were managing her shame.
This was your unasked-for inheritance. Not poverty in the dramatic sense, but the suffocating gray zone of almost enough. A world where showing up was mandatory, but advancement was a myth. The first fracture in the wall appeared at 17. It wasn't a grand speech, it was a quiet suggestion from a teacher to aim higher. That was the moment your perspective shifted from the floor to the horizon. You paid the entry fee with a $31,000 ransom. Student loans for a life no one in your bloodline had ever touched. You lived in a room smaller than your childhood closet. Then came the first tax refund you ever filed yourself, $847. To your peers, it was a weekend away. To you, it was the first time you were a participant in the system instead of its victim. The double life began. You learned to speak the dialect of the elite while your family asked about 401ks you couldn't explain. You became a curator of your own history, editing out the darkness to keep the stories charming. The calls from home carry a specific weight. You wait for the subtext, the rent, the car repair, the bill that arrived too early. You help when you can, but the distance between your world and theirs is a bridge that only goes one way. Earning more in a month than your father earned in a year isn't a victory, it's a disorientation. It feels like standing in a vast, empty room with no furniture. You expected a trophy, you found an isolation chamber. You manage the flow of information like you once managed the grocery cart. You don't explain the Roth IRA or the portfolio, because the truth would only bruise their dignity. You protect them with your silence.
You are carrying the scoreboard alone. By 31, you are earning monthly what the average household earns annually. No one knows. The weight of being the fixer is a constant pressure.
At $50,000 in net worth, your brain chemistry changes. You aren't rich, but you have a buffer. 4 months of breathing room. In your lineage, that is a revolution. The first generation doesn't get the finished house, they only get the wet concrete. You are building a foundation for people who haven't been born yet, handing keys to a future you will never personally inhabit.
Your children will never know the math of a grocery run. They won't know the register pause or the shame of a declined card. You absorb the cost now so they can start 10 miles further forward. You are the last poor generation. Not because you worked harder, they worked devastatingly hard, but because you had access to the information they were denied. You held the line.
Looking at that tax form again, you don't see failure. You see the man who poured the concrete so you could sit in this chair. He built you, and you are building the future. What happens when someone decides the cycle ends here? You are the answer to a question your parents never got to ask. The transition is complete. The scoreboard isn't for them to see. It is for you to carry until the numbers no longer scream. You have traded the noise of the struggle for the weight of the legacy.
Poverty is a ghost that haunts the mind long after the bank account is full. You are learning to walk without bracing for a fall that is no longer coming.
The math is finally quiet. The compounding interest is working in the background, a silent engine that doesn't require your panic to run. You have bought back your lineage's time. You are the ancestor they will talk about. The one who looked at a shoebox of receipts and decided that the debt ends here. You didn't just change your bank account, you changed the future. The silence is no longer a burden, it is a boundary. You have built a fortress of privacy around your family's dignity. The work is done, the cycle is broken, you are free. Financial history is written by those who hold the line.
The silence is no longer a burden, it is a boundary. You have built a fortress of privacy around your family's dignity. The work is done, the cycle is broken, you are free.
The exit isn't just a number in a ledger. It is the moment you stop looking over your shoulder for a crisis that no longer exists. You have walked through the door, now close it. Your children will not know the specific math of a grocery run. They will not know the pause at the register. They will not know what it costs to put something back. They won't know because you carried it so they wouldn't have to. That is the entire transaction. You absorb the cost so the next person starts further forward. You are the last poor generation in your family, not because you got lucky, but because you held the line. And you didn't stop when it got quiet and lonely and strange. $47,000. That is what your father made last year. You're sitting at that same kitchen table now.
The shoebox of receipts, his W-2, his name on a document that represents a year of his life. But this time, you see something different in those numbers. You don't see failure. You see a man who worked every day of your childhood so that you could be sitting in this chair with the knowledge you have. You see the foundation. You see the person who poured the concrete. You still don't say anything. You just keep typing. He is in the other room. He has no idea what he built. He built you, and you are building something he will never fully see. Not because he isn't looking, because what you're building exists in the future. In children who will never have to learn the grocery store math. In a version of your family name that carries different weight. In the answer to a question your parents never got to ask. The question is, what happens when someone decides the cycle ends here? You are the answer. The exit is secured by the buffer. You don't build wealth until you build a wall around your peace of mind. 6 months of survival, liquid and locked, is your first act of rebellion. Your family will see the wall and call it greed. They won't understand that the wall isn't to keep them out. It's to keep the crisis from getting in. You are the gatekeeper now. Compounding is a quiet god. It doesn't ask for your effort, it only asks for your time. In the bottom 50%, time is a luxury. In the top 7%, time is the greatest asset you own. The sovereign portfolio is not a gamble, it is a declaration of independence. You are buying pieces of the global engine so that you no longer have to be the fuel. Diversification is your armor. You will be tempted to revert. The pull of the old math is strong. In moments of panic, remember, the person who poured the concrete did not do it so you could remain a tenant of your own fear. The top 7% is a lonely statistic until you realize you aren't alone. You are part of a silent legion of first-generation builders. We recognize each other by the silence we keep and the lines we hold. Generational health is a long-term game of tax strategy and legal shielding. You aren't just saving cash, you are building a legal fortress that the winds of inflation and litigation cannot breach. The tax code is a map written for those who own, not those who only earn. You have stopped reading the footnotes and started navigating the terrain. Every dollar protected is a year of freedom purchased.
The inheritance you leave won't just be a number on a brokerage statement. It will be the absence of the panic you grew up with. You are gifting them the luxury of a quiet mind.
The sovereign life has a steep entry price. Focus. You will have to say no to the shiny decoys that your peers use to signal status. Your status isn't worn, it is owned. Wealth is the ability to walk away from a room where you are no longer respected. It is the power to say, I don't have to be here. That silence is your ultimate leverage. We don't talk about money to brag. We talk about it because the math of your life determines the quality of your choices. Every investment is a vote for your future self. The employee mindset asks how much you can earn today. The sovereign mindset asks how much of your time you can buy back for tomorrow. One is a paycheck, the other is a ransom payment for your freedom. You are building an estate, not just a lifestyle. An estate is a system that survives you. A lifestyle is just a fire that consumes everything you earn until there's nothing left but ash. The world will tell you to enjoy your success now. They want you to spend the concrete before it sets. Don't. Let it harden. The strongest things are built in the dark, in the silence. The market is a machine designed to harvest your emotions. To stay sovereign, you must become a ghost to the noise. Your wealth doesn't grow in the headlines, it grows in the gaps between them. Check your accounts once a month, not once an hour. Anxiety is the tax the unprepared pay to the patient. You have already done the work, now let the work do you. The greatest threat to your estate isn't a market crash. It is your own desire to feel busy. Sovereignty is boring. It is the art of doing nothing while the world panics. The final inheritance is not the money. It is the transfer of the framework. If you give them the gold without the map, you haven't built a legacy, you've just delayed a tragedy. Teach them to respect the compounding, but to fear the consumerism. Show them the foundation you poured. Let them touch the concrete. Let them know what it costs to get them here.
You are writing a new constitution for your name. No more fear, no more almost enough. From this point forward, the default state of your lineage is sovereignty. This is the ultimate diversification, geopolitical sovereignty. You are not a passenger on the ship of state. You have built your own vessel. The wind is finally at your back.
We are at the 10-minute mark. Most people have already looked away, but you are still here. That capacity for long-form focus is the exact trait that builds empires while others build distractions.
The strategy is simple, but the execution is lonely. You will be misunderstood by those you love most. That is the final tax of the first-generation builder, the tax of being the only one who sees the end.
The scoreboard is now yours to keep. The noise of the critics is just background radiation in a galaxy you now own. You didn't just build a portfolio, you built a sanctuary. Compounding is a quiet god. It doesn't ask for your effort, it only asks for your time. In the bottom 50%, time is a luxury. In the top 7%, time is the greatest asset you own.
Your wealth is now a multi-node network. If one market freezes, another flows. You have engineered a life where no single person, politician, or panic can turn off your light. Every Tuesday, we gather here to sharpen the tools of the sovereign. Because the world wants your attention, but your legacy requires your focus. You have chosen wisely.
You are the one who changed everything. The silence is yours. The future is yours. The exit is open. I'm Fincap Girl. Subscribe to hold the line.